This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning. We're continuing Mishna Berura Daf Hashavua. We're learning Siman Lamed Tes. We're going to learn now Sif Ches and Tes. Ein nikachen ela min hamumcha shabaki b'chaseres v'yiseres. You can only purchase stam from an expert, someone who knows and is proficient in the missing yuds and vavs or the extra vavs and yuds and vavs. It says Mishna Berura min hamumcha. Aval loy mimi she'ein hamumcha, not from someone who is not a mumcha. Afal pisha lokech roitza levadkan. You say, what's the big deal? I'll buy it, and I'll check it. If it's good, great. If it's not good, then I won't use it. Why do I have to buy it from a mumcha? I need to check it well, but why do I have to purchase it from a mumcha? Mumcha, no. We're afraid that once you buy, you may be lazy in checking it. Because it's going to be a bother to remove the stitching and then to sew it up again. Upashad, it's obvious. Demi shehu soifer kavua larabim hu bechlal mumcha. What is a mumcha? A mumcha is your well-known, used soifer by the community. He's considered a mumcha. Even though you personally didn't test him, you wouldn't even know how to test him, but a good sign that someone is a mumcha is if the community uses him. Umezuzah, V'od in Parsha shel Tefillin, nikachas afilu shaloi min hamincha. A mezuzah let's see. See, until now we're talking about tefillin, mezuzos, and svarim. And the Mechaber says, Eini kachin ela min hamumcha shabaki b'chaseres v'yiseros. So the Mishna Berura now says, Umezuzah v'od in parshas zon nikachas afilu shaloi min hamumcha u'v'tnai sheivdekena achar kach.
It's supposed to be actual tefillin that are going to be a tear to open up. He's just buying the cloth here. He's buying the ksab.
Mm-hmm. So Melly wants to say that until now we're talking about a closed pair. You know, you buy it as it is, so you can't only buy it from the mumcha. Why? Because even though you say you're going to check it, it's a pain in the neck to open and close it. But to buy the parshas as is and take your chances, that we do allow you to purchase. Okay, good. Siv tes. Lakach mimi she'enoi mumcha. If you bought it, if you're not supposed to, but you went ahead and you bought it from someone who's not a mumcha tzarech lebadkin, you got to check it. Lakach mimenu mea ktzitzos. Let's say you bought 100 pairs. So do you have to check every one, or is there a way to establish that the seller was in fact a mumcha? Boidik mehem shloisha ktzitzos. You should check 3 pairs. 3 individual boxes. Shtayim shel rosh. Take 2 shel rosh, v'achas shel yad, or oishtayim shel v'achas shel rosh. In mitzan ksherim, huchzik zeh ha'ish. This person has a chazaka, v'harei kulam ksherim. You could assume they're all kosher. Ve'ein hashar tzarech b'dika. The rest don't need to be checked. Ve'im lekachan tzvasim tzvasim. Let's say you purchased it pairs. Meaning if you bought 100 boxes, then you check 3 of them. But what if you bought pairs and pairs? So then, cheskasam me'anoshim harbehim lekuchim. The presumption is that he got it from different people. Meaning, let's say he bought it mounds and mounds, different piles. So presumably he didn't get it all from the same guy. He got it from different sellers. Presumably they were bought from different people. From each group, you got to check 3. Someone who sells tefillin, and the seller says, you know who wore this tefillin? The Chafetz Chaim wore this tefillin. The Vilna Gaon wore this tefillin. The seller has a cheskas kashrus, and now the tefillin don't have to be checked. Siv katan chaf, lakach. You bought it from someone who's not a mumcha. What does that mean? We just said in Sivches, you're not allowed to buy it from someone who's not a mumcha. So Mishna Berura says, b'diavad. It means if you went ahead and you did it anyway. Or there is no mumcha. So you have to check it. What do you have to check it for? It says in Mishna Berura, you have to check if any letters are missing, any missing yods, any extra vavs. You have to check whether the letters are formulated properly. The Chanal b'Siman Alam and Vav Sif Aleph. Ein lacha shema ibdan shaloi lishman. You don't have to be concerned. Maybe it was tanned shaloi lishman. Da kol b'kiyan b'zeh. Everyone is expert about this. The Dirshu brings an interesting shaila. Let's say a moicher tefillin, and you see he has tefillin. They're all kosher, but they're only kosher b'diavad. Do you have to tell the buyers? You should know this guy. His tefillin are kosher, but they're not kosher l'charchila. So Rav Vazna writes in Shevet Alevi Chelak Aleph Siman Zayin Ois Beis that if you see the buyer is a medaktik b'mitzvos, that he's the kind of guy who wants to do things l'charchila, you have to let him know. However, if the buyer, actually Rav Vazna is talking about where the buyer himself knows he has a pair of tefillin that is not kosher l'charchila, does he have to tell? Does the seller have to tell the buyer? So it depends what kind of buyer it is. If the buyer is somebody who's medaktik b'mitzvos, then it's a mekach tas if he doesn't tell him. If he's a kind of guy who's not looking to be medaktik b'mitzvos, it would not be mekach tas. Okay. Ve'ein hashar. Sivkatan chaf beis. The rest don't need bedika. V'hu sha'omer sheksavan ba'atzmai. The case where all you need to do is check 3 and that's good enough is where the seller says he wrote it himself, or he says he bought it from one guy. Then you could assume that the guy who he says he got it from wrote it all himself, because they're all in one pile. Now, what if the seller says that this tefillin comes from an Adam Gadol? Or if, let's say, a seller says, I got it from a world-famous moicher stam, Neman. Why? The Eidachanam Bisurin. The Dirshu brings a woman who sells tefillin, he brings from the Afike Maginim, has ne'emanus to say that it belonged to an Adam Gadol. What does a person have to do to demonstrate that they have a cheskas kashrus, that you could trust them legabe stam? So the Dirshu quotes from the Aruch HaShulchan Yardei Siman Kuf Yotes that if he acts al pi the halachos, he puts on talis, he puts on tefillin, he davens 3 times a day, he washes his hands for achila, and he conducts his household bekashrus. Those are the that's the criteria. Now, says the Magen Avram, the din of cheskas kashrus, because the Magen al kapanim beinim shemakino says shumuchsuk bekashrus. To utilize the Eidachanam Bisurim, you have to recognize that he's muchsuk bekashrus. Ayin Yoradeh Siman Kuf Yotes if beis b'haga ulefi hamavur sham muchach. Based on what's explained over there, it's clear. Dimra'u shalav shan ba'atzmai. If you see that a guy who has cheskas kashrus wears it for himself, naman b'chal gavnai, he's always believed the lavar ba'atzmai v'adei nechasher. He's not suspect of being over himself. V'ayin shal b'shach sivkatan aleph. Ve'enam tzrichim b'dika shechazaka al chaver she'enoi moitzi mitachas yadoi davar she'enoi masukan. There is a presumption on a Talmud Chacham that he won't release something that is not correct. Okay, so let's hold it here. Tomorrow, Bez Hashem, we'll finish up Siman Lamed Tes, begin Siman Mem, and by the end of this week, we will be 1 week ahead. Okay. Have a.
Yeah, the minute Chayes that said you sell it, make it tied it to a court or shvua.
Yes.
Even though you tried it, the Menei shvuas, no. So what are they going to do with it?
It's a secular court, and if they have to make a Jew swear, they're going to get it. They need it. That's their procedure. So the question is, could you sell it to them? It sounds like in combination with Ava, you'd be allowed to. Again, nowadays they don't do it on a Sefer Torah. Maybe they do it on a Bible. I don't know what their policies are.
And by the way, there was a cute story a few years ago. A guy taking 47 photo.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.